Welcome to GreyPrimer.com. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to look at Citadel Miniatures Catalogue from the year 2000. So this was a big find for me. I'd been frequenting this secondhand comic book shop in Belfast called Atomic Comics. They have a ton of comics there, like they do CDs and collectibles and things like that as well, but really draw for me is that they have lots of archives of White Dwarf in there, and there's always going to be something you can find, like a painting guide or, you know, the release of an old product or something, like something cool where they dedicated most of the magazine to it, like Dark Future. And I love going through the magazines in that shop, and generally they're pretty reasonably priced. I was really surprised to see this. Wrapped in a poly bag, and for being nearly 20 years old, it is pretty much mint. I am very, very pleased with that. Some pretty cool art on the front there, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Don't honestly remember this being in the shops back in the year 2000 or the years that followed. I remember seeing images from it featured in White Dwarf in their sort of retail section or whatever of the magazine. There is a lot to go through here. I'll probably flick through bits and pieces of it, and you'll get some blasts from the past in there. And I think there'll be sort of sections where you'll think, I recognize those minis, you know, but these would have, most of these would be pewter. Yeah, let's get stuck into this. Let's see what it all looks like and see what surprises are within. Baxi. So this thing's been waiting 20 years to be looked at. That's my opinion anyway. It was in a plastic baggie when I found it in Atomic Comics in Belfast. I don't think anyone's ever really looked at this. Maybe flicked through it, but it was in such good condition that it certainly nobody like me had ever got their hands on this. When I look back at my old White Dwarfs, at my copy of, I think it was 40k second edition, my Blood Bowl rulebook, wow, those things were looked at to the point of death, you know? They were just, I'd looked at the art in them so many times, I'd flicked through them, I'd had them sort of folded over in my hand or shoved into a backpack like a school bag or something. That they were just falling apart. And then I find something like this from 20 years ago that is just perfect. That, you know, like this has been sitting on a shelf in Atomic Comics waiting to be discovered. And I'm so happy that I'm finding it now and not back then, because it would not be in the same nick right now, you know. It was in with a whole bunch of White Dwarfs as well. So I think it was part of someone's large collection that they ran out of space or whatever for and ended up bringing it down to Atomic Comics to sell. The White Dwarfs were... I bought a bunch of them, and some of those are in not the condition I would have had them in the 80s and 90s, but certainly they've been looked at, you know. This, on the other hand, this is so cherry that I still can't believe that I got it. And I think I got this for like £1 or something, which is fantastic. Atomic Comics in Belfast, well worth a look. So anyway, let's have a look at the Citadel Miniatures 2000 Annual from Games Workshop. You see the spine of it, and then indispensable guide for gamers and modelers. And then you see there are 3 main brands featured: Warhammer, Warhammer 40,000, and Mordheim. And then all of the different sort of regional offices of Games Workshop around the world. And the Citadel Miniatures logo there, which is called the Citadel Castle. I did not know that. Right away, we have a huge amount of trademark information, copywriting information from Games Workshop. This covers all of their different types of paints and all the bits and pieces. That is a huge list of things that are all registered trademarks to Games Workshop. Like, incredible list. I mean, look at this. Is this in all of their books? That they list all, because I can imagine, but I mean, this is 20 years ago. Imagine how many of these would exist now. Sister of Sigmar? What is a Sister of Sigmar? Anyway, let's get into it. So we have a multilingual contents page, the English language here. That's it. We got Warhammer 40k with Marines, Eldar, Tyranids, Eldar, Chaos Marines, Imperial Guard, Space Orcs, Imperial Assassins, and Necrons. And then for Warhammer, we got Bretonnia, Dwarfs, High Elves, Wood Elves, Lizardmen, Chaos, Orcs and Goblins, Skaven, Vampire Counts, and then a separate listing just for Mordheim. And then in all the different languages, bit of okay art at the bottom, and then on the opposite page, a bit of awesome art, signaling the start of the Warhammer 40,000 section of the book. Great detail in there. Look at this dude. Very neat. Loving it. And then we get into Space Marines. We got the plastic kit over there. What did you used to get in that? It's the Space Marine Tactical Squad. Look at this, cool. Just got off my horse legs, and then how to put it together. And they had that sort of pivot at the waist there, and then you had some sort of movement in where you put the arms, but everything else was kind of always going to look a certain way. And it always felt like no matter what way you designed them, or the sort of the way the waist was, or the arms were up and down, they all kind of ended up looking the same. But that was back in the days where I was a bit afraid to do sort of modifying, mixing together different kits and things. And now I don't care. Now everything goes into the bits box, and you know, I sort of look at an arm that I don't like on a sprue, and I go into the bits box. I have it all sectioned off into like right arms, right leg, left leg, even down to right arm with weapon, or left arm weapon, heads, helmets, backpacks. It's all sectioned off in the bits box, and it means that I can very quickly find out if there's an alternative that I prefer the look of on a certain mini. Super handy to have. How does that look? I'll get into it in a later video, but let me see. It basically is a whole bunch of these on a rack. This one you can see is shields and backpacks. There'll be shields and backpacks in there, so if I'm not happy with a backpack or whatever, I check in there to see if there's something better. And yeah, it's a whole rack of these with all just different names in the boxes. Little bit of an extra tip there. Then we go into different types of Space Marines. So a lot of these would be pewter. I'm not sure if in '99 they were still using lead in their mix, but they certainly were, I believe, in years before that. There was lead going into them. I always found that just when I was working with pewter and any types of the sort of metal minis, that I just tried to be a little bit more careful with what I held in my mouth when I was working on different parts. Let's see if there's any warnings in the bottom of these. Not recommended for children under 8 years due to small parts and essential pointed components. All models supplied unpainted. So nothing there about lead or anything. So definitely designed for or intended for people of 8 years and above. What's nice about these pages is that it shows you at the bottom who the designer was. So these are Jess Goodwin, which is one of the names that I always remembered from White Dwarf. And probably as we go through this, we'll have some other names that sort of give us a bit of nostalgia kick. We've got the Space Marine Command Group. Some of these are kind of nice. Space Marine Commander, Apothecary with Chainsword, Tech Marine, Veteran Sergeant with Scanner, and then a Space Marine Company Standard Bearer. So I'll just give you a close-up on some of those because they are really sort of nice standalones. That's the Commander. That's pretty cool. He's really standing, pushing the limits of his base there. I think that was an old 25mm round base, so he is right off the edge. Apothecary with Chainsword. The Tech Marine there. The Veteran Sergeant with Scanner. I like the way his rifle is slung, actually, and he's got the scanner out. That's very cool. He's screaming and pointing at someone. That's a sergeant's job. And then the company standard bearer there as well. So let's have a flick through here. There's a lot of Space Marines to go through. I'll stop if there's any that really sort of jump out at me. There's probably people looking at this and screaming, going, "It's all jumping out!" Let's get Commander Dante up here. Because the Blood Angels have sort of come back into the light again. Kind of weird to talk about Vampire Marines coming into the light. But look at that jump pack. That is so cool. Inferno Pistol. That's brilliant. And who's this chap? Brother Captain Tycho. Oh, cool armor detail, actually. And then we've got that very cool Dreadnought. The Space Wolf Dreadnought. With a completely top tier paint job on the armor and on the banner there. It's like those sort of moments in Games Workshop where you're looking at it and being like, yeah, I'm never going to be able to print it or paint anything like that. I'm much more likelihood of printing this and gluing it on than I ever would have had of free painting it. But if they can do it, you can do it, you know. Some Terminators there. There's the plastic ones, I think. As you can see, the base actually came on the sprue, which is kind of interesting. Rather than loose. Another Space Marine Dreadnought. This is Ultramarine one. A breakdown of all the different pieces here. Motorcycles. Very cool attack bike there, the trike with this little guy. Just look at the way he sits in the seat. It doesn't look the most comfortable place to sit, but it's probably okay. You see how he's getting hunky down there. That's hilarious. Okay, we also got Bike Squadron, Land Speeder. These don't actually have prices on them, but going back through the old White Dwarfs and stuff of this era, you'd be able to see how reasonably priced a lot of this stuff was. And then we got the good old Rhino there on a sprue. Like, how cool is that? Is it still on the sprue? I don't know. Long time since I opened a Rhino box. Razorback. I love the Rhino. I love the simplicity of it, and the fact that it's a varied use platform. You can have some really serious ordnance coming out of that thing, but it can also be used as sort of a standard troop carrier. Look at the Predator here with the weapons on the side. The Annihilator is variant there as well. The size of this gun. What is that fire? What does this say? So we've got the Rhino chassis, Demolisher cannon. So I'm taking it this fires shells, which are of a huge caliber, like huge. Then we get into the Eldar sprues. Some pretty fancy looking Eldar. They have some really cool ships, I gotta say. Look at that skiff sort of looking thing. Kind of looks like it wouldn't be out of place, skimming across the sandy surface of Tatooine. Dark Eldar, Tyranids. Gotta get this Hive Tyrant up a bit closer. Just because that is just such a savage looking miniature. Very cool. Get into these other ones. You can see the alien inspired heads there, obviously. More Eldar. Oh, look at these. Now these Wraith Lords are neat looking. I think it's the heads and the hands. I love these forearms as well. There's just something so incredibly alien about them, so dangerous and menacing, but there's an elegance to them as well. And everything about this race looks, for me, comes across as alien, fast, lethal, but with this sort of cultured elegance to their murder machines. Cultured. The Graf tanks are very cool. I mean, great seeing those going up against Rhino. And then we're across to Chaos Space Marines. This is Nurgle. So you've got the Nurgle Plague Marine. So much simpler to what we see nowadays, which are incredibly complex, huge amounts of corruption and rot and tentacles and pustules and sort of tongues sticking out of their stomachs and all sorts of mutations. These are much more sedate. I completely forgot to look at the names at the bottom, but we've got Tim Adcock here working with Jez Goodwin on the Grav tank, and over here another couple of famous names, Ali Morrison, Dave Andrews, working on this page. Heavy weapons units. Obliterators, Raptors. There's some pretty cool sculpts in there too. Dave Andrews in this page, Ali Morrison in this page here. Let's just have a quick look at these. Are Noise Marines. This is Noise Marine Champion with Doom Siren. I think the Doom Siren is that thing in its mouth. This is Sonic Blaster. And then this last one is a Blastmaster. Nice detail on the boots there, and throughout the mini actually. Looks like little speakers up above. And then this big guitar type gun. You see the gun there in more detail. The Blastmaster. Icon Bearers, Sorcerers, Fabius Bile, Karn the Betrayer. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Araman, maybe. Then we got Vikers. And this Chaos Juggernaut of Khorne is well worth a look. Designed by Dave Andrews. Oh yeah. There's something about the Chaos Rhinos that I love. And then we're into Imperial Guard. So we got the Jungle Fighters, Canadian Shock Troopers, another plastic sprue kit here. And these are the Jungle Fighters in this kit. Ice Warriors of Valhalla. Colonel Schaefer's Last Chancers. I love that name. Ooh, I like these Rattling Snipers. Those are cool. Lehman Russ Imperial Battle Tank. Oh, I love this Imperial Chimera. And we got the Demolisher, Exterminator. I think these are even cooler than some of the... I mean, look at this thing. Imperial Basilisk. I definitely think these are the cool. These are cooler than the Rhinos. And then we're up into Orcs. Big plastic kit there for the different Orcs. That's great. This is a Killer Can. Killer Can. Gotta love an Orc. War Boss. Look at the War Bike, the War Buggy there. I just love Orc vehicles. I think they're fantastic. Look at this truck here. Orc War Truck. And we go from this being so like glued together with hope and spit and teeth to the ultra elegance of these Imperial assassins. And then we get some scenery here. We got 40k ruined buildings, trees and things, crates, barricades. And that's the end of 40k, and then we're up into sort of the Warhammer stuff. So before Age of Sigmar, you had Warhammer. The artwork is really nice. We've got some kind of mid-siege thing going on here. I just love the detail in this. These sort of ink or pencil drawings, whatever they were. There's just so much going on in there. I absolutely love it. So, kind of a lot of static poses here. The horses look pretty cool. Some of these halberdiers look pretty cool too. A little bit more action in them. A lot of cavalry units here. Command groups. That's a pretty cool pose there with the lance. Pegasus. Wow, that's a neat mini. So this is Hero on Pegasus. I did not know that existed. And then broken down into the different components. The Grail Shield. Oh, that looks really cool. I know there was a hippogriff in one of their sets. Forerunner to Space Marines. Anyway. A unicorn. So you got a Pegasus, a unicorn. A lot of just regular horses. Oh, there's the hippogriff. Yep. This is kind of cool. These sort of fantasy creatures included in this. Loving the action in this. Sort of reared up, the wings fully splayed. That's a cool looking thing. And the good old faithful Dwarfs, one of my old-time favourites. Troll Slayers look fantastic. Get these guys a bit closer up. Look at their faces. I mean, their heads are too big, right? But in some of them. And then others you would be like thinking, this just looks like Volkite Berserkers or something from these days. And those Demon Slayer minis are cool. And one of these on Dragon Slayers. Ah, these have to come back. They are so neat. Good. I know this is taking long, but what are these? These are Bugman's Dwarf Rangers. How can you not love those minis? Sorry for the reflection there. Oh, those are magnificent. Love those. Bolt Thrower. Bolt Thrower used to be a band that was closely connected to Games Workshop Citadel, wasn't it? I think I remember that. And they used to get adverts for when their shows were coming up in the UK in White Dwarf. It's like Bolt Thrower. I must check them out actually on Spotify to see if they're still around. If this is a record of their stuff. I love metal, so maybe there's something in there that's going to be a bit of classic thrash. We got the flame cannon here, dwarf cannon. It implies that it fires dwarfs, but I don't think it does. Gyrocopter. Wow, imagine that in Sigmar. And then we're into the high elves, super static sort of poses. Elves kind of always look dull to me in these sort of fixed poses. There's just very little happening there. I mean, these aren't bad. These sort of standalones. But the actual core troops all look the same. There's a bunch of cavalry. Ooh, nice dragon. Skinny looking, but love me some dragons. Another hippogriff? Griffin listed as here. Repeater Bolt Thrower. This will make you have not such a great afternoon. Alban Steed, Orion King of the Woods. Ooh, this guy's pretty pagan looking and awesome. Goodness me. I do not remember that miniature at all. Wow. This one as well. What is this? Ariel Mage Queen of Lorne. That is stunning. I mean, for sure, it's helped by this paint job, this sort of butterfly paint job on the wings. But, even in raw pewter, it's very special. Nice artwork at the bottom as well. These look like dryads. Dryads have come a long way, actually. Oh, cool tree man now. Oh, that guy's magic looking. Oh, love that pose. Oh, that is something else. I wonder if I could find one of those. This one less so because his arm looks way too long, his right arm. But I love that mini. Oh, can you imagine how difficult that would be to find? Another skinny dragon. This is concept art. Great Eagle. We get into some Lizardmen. And Lizardmen always seem to have this, just, run into the shops at 5 to 5, catch them just before they close. They always have that look about them, like they're just slightly late for something. Skaven as well, always have that. I'm just running for the post office closes kind of look. Look, every single one of them. Here as well. Skinks, Saurus, all running for the bus. And the only reference to Slan, I think, is this mage priest here. Which is such a shame. I mean, being carried along by these Saurus Planquin bearers, they look pretty cool. I love their look like Triceratops skull helmets. But look at this, how awesome this Slan Lord is, this mage priest. I'd love to see more of those. And then we get into more people running for the bus. Whoa. Space Marine Lizardman. This is cool. Stegodon. Oh, that's That's pretty amazing, actually. Tons of components to build that as well. Some more dinosaur type creatures, and then we get into sort of the fantasy chaos realms. Again, much more reserved than what we would have these days. You can see some of these pretty cool minotaurs or minotaurs, and then we look at some more variations on those different weapons and stuff. Looks like they were into these creatures, but when we get into the actual chaos characters like the Beastmen and Nurgle and stuff, super sedate compared to the grotesqueness that we see now. The Demon Prince is pretty good. Bloodthirster Greater Demon. Okay. Static. Big old Greater Demon Tzeentch there, the Lord of Change, is a cool looking mini. And more sort of impressive than the others we've seen so far from Chaos. This one seems very representative of that sort of Tzeentch bird demon look. And this, compared to the current Greater Demons and stuff, this is okay. It just feels a bit messy. Gotta say the sword, though. The sword's cool. But yeah, now we look at some of the bigger Nurgle demons, and there's just so much going on with them. Keeper's Secrets there from Slaanesh is okay. But we're much more in this sort of age of the incredible detail you can get in these large plastic builds. And even on the smaller plastic kits, there's just so much with the move into sort of the computer-aided design and manufacturing, where the detail that is able to be captured is mind-blowing. So you can just, whatever is in your imagination, you can get it out there and sculpt, and they're going to be able to represent it when they come to printing it. Some more Slaanesh stuff here. Huge oversized claws. I mean, look at this. This is comical in scale. The Fiends, we've seen these re-released quite recently. I don't remember seeing a Champion of Tzeentch before, but they look pretty cool. Another skinny dragon. Fly through some of this. Hey, Orc and Goblin plastic kits, these warrior regiments. The Orcs back then, I felt were they kind of had these huge heads on them. They had smaller bodies and then these huge heads, like you can see in these Savage Orc boys. And it kind of felt like if they just scaled up those bodies, they could have been actually something pretty terrifying about them. But as it is, it kind of feels like they were goblins with orc heads, sort of goblin bodies with orc heads. And now you look at the sort of the much bigger scale orcs, the much meatier looking orcs. They're pretty terrifying creatures. And then we're into some goblins here. Squigs. The old squigs. They're pretty cool. I must say I like the new plastic kits as well. The squig ones. Snotling Pump Wagon Crew. Gotta love some snotlings. They're just great, aren't they? Always such a mischief. I always wanted to see someone just fielding like an army of snotlings against an army of nurglings. I think that'd be hilarious. Into some trolls here. Sorry for shaking the camera there. Trolls and ogres. Skaven. Will we see Skaven running for the bus? Actually, no. These are a little bit, but better than I remember. I mean, yeah, these ones are totally. But some of these more sort of champion figures are pretty cool, and that is just amazing. What is that? A doom wheel? I've never seen that before. Whoa. Was this pewter? There's all the different components. How it goes together. I think that's pewter. Oh no, we have some plastic. And that's a plastic wheel. But I think most of that is pewter. That would have been crazy heavy to put together. This demon of the horned rat is there anything like that nowadays? Called the Vermin Lord Demon of the Horned Rat. Oh man. Now that is cool. Looks like his sword to get caught up in his horns, but you know, that aside. Want one of those. Vampire counts, we got that the old skeleton horde. Spruce there, still going strong. Zombie regiment. And some more ghouls, and ghouls were very sort of stand up back then, and now they'd be something that would be represented as much more sort of hunched over and ready to run at speed. Necromancers with some nice art there. On horses. Graveguard, Spiritos. So, I guess something like Dreadscythe Harridans, sort of Night Haunt looking things, but, much more basic and early iteration of that sort of style. Bunch of vampires. The Black Coach is cool though. The good old Warhammer Siege Castle. Look at that. I think that was in polystyrene. I think that was, as far as I remember, the same sort of polystyrene they used as for the old Blood Bowl pitch, the second edition of Blood Bowl. That very compressed polystyrene. I have a feeling it was, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they brought that in plastic. And then the siege engine there as well, the siege tower, sorry. And then we're into some Mordheim stuff, which might bring back a few memories. Not a huge amount here. Reiklander champions, Youngbloods. Some issues there with anatomy. You got pretty big heads going on. Maybe that was a feature of it, I don't know, but it feels like the anatomy wasn't taking too much into consideration there, and maybe showing off the caricature of faces was more important than having something that was anatomically balanced. Some pretty neat Skaven there. Cult of the Possessed. Those look interesting. This looks some of touches of different types of chaos from Warhammer. Sort of Slanesh looking claws there. Nerdly looking tentacles. That's an interesting mini. What is that? Possessed. So, Cult of the Possessed. And then a couple of sprues of scenery. And that is it. We are at the end of the Warhammer Citadel Miniatures 2000 Annual from Games Workshop. That was so much stuff in there. Lots of nostalgia. A big difference from what we're used to now, detail wise, and the dynamism that's in the different poses and things that the miniatures are capable of. Manufacturing, sculptors, levels of experience, or just the demands of the market. The competition from different brands and things with pushing Citadel and pushing Warhammer Games Workshop into, trying out new techniques, new equipment, new manufacturing processes, whatever it might be. There's a lot has happened in 20 years, and you can see it here. But at the core of it, at the heart of it, even 20 years ago, there's a huge amount of imagination, huge amount of talent, and a real pleasure to go through something like that. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I know that it went on for a bit there, but hopefully you got something from that. If it was a nostalgia kick, if it was just something else. Thank you so much for accompanying me on the journey through it. So if you enjoyed that, please like. If you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe. You can get notifications by hitting the bell. You can comment below. You can also go over and comment on my Facebook page, Instagram as well. And links to that will be in the episode notes down below. And that's it for today. On the next episode of GreyPrimer.com, we are unboxing Command Zombicide Invader. I held it in my hands in, May or June of last year at the UK Games Expo. And I debated and considered and realized that I just didn't have space in my luggage to bring it home with me. And I put it back. And biggest mistake of 2019 was putting off buying that. I have eventually got it. I'm going to unbox it, go through all the components, have a look, and I can't wait. But that's on the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in, and take care. Bye-bye.